Hey up! Right, we've been having a bit of weather lately. I think we've had a thunderstorm just about every day this week, and we've not had a day without rain for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, which has got in the way of filming a bit, really. Now, today, what I intended to do is fit a set of the Royal Enfield genuine accessory pannier racks on the Classic 350. Now, strictly speaking, this doesn't fit, but Hitchcock's have brought out an adaptation kit which allows you to fit it. These are quite probably the most versatile pannier racks in existence. I've never come across anything quite like them, you know, available for any other make or model of motorcycle. I suspect they're derived from an old military design. I'd be surprised if there wasn't, because they are literally so versatile. And I just couldn't pass up the opportunity of fitting a set to the Classic 350. Now, I have the racks and the panniers along with the fitting kit all ready to go on the bike, and I intended filming the fitting yesterday, but it just deluged all day. In fact, rain wasn't even forecast, and then it was raining when I got up in the morning, and it said it was going to stop raining around about 9 o'clock for 3 or 4 hours, but it didn't, and we had another thunderstorm. So I was on standby with the camera all day, hoping to get the fitting filmed, and in the end we just ran out of day. So I had to have a bit of a last-minute rethink. Now, when Hitchcock sent me the pannier rails and panniers, they also sent me a lovely little frame finishing kit, which I personally think sort of sets the bike off rather well. So today I'm going to quickly show you how to fit that. Now, just to recap, last year on receipt of the Classic 350, I fitted the touring seat, the deluxe foot pegs, the adjustable control levers, and various other little bits and pieces, including the sump guard. Just little steps towards sort of making the bike my own, really, personalising it. Now, I also have one of those Fuel-X kits ready to fit to the bike, which I'm going to do this year. And I think I'll have a look around and see what replacement exhaust systems are available. I held off with these things last year because the bike was still in the early stages of running, so you can't really appreciate what a Fuel-X system is going to do to the bike. And of course, being a relatively new model, sort of aftermarket accessories were a bit thin on the ground apart from the sort of OEM Royal Enfield parts. So, fingers crossed, weather permitting, I'll get those pannier racks fitted next week and a video uploaded along with a review of them, the Hitchcock's fitting kit, and of course the bags, and we'll take it from there. Now, these little frame finishers. Now, these are a genuine Hitchcock's accessory made in-house in their workshops, and they're tanned from billet aluminium, available in this clear tanned finish or in a black anodised finish. They're a great way to improve the look of your bike. They're really high quality, and in my honest opinion, they are ridiculously cheap. Now, this didn't exist on the old 350 and 500. The stay for the rear mudguard was held on by a separate bracket just in front of the top shock hanger. But on the new J platform 350s, and that includes the Hunter, the Meteor, and of course the Classic 350, this mount for the rear mudguard stay has been incorporated into the hanger itself, which I think actually gives sort of this area of the bike a cleaner, less cluttered look. But that mounting point leaves a sort of a big hole in the hanger, which Royal Enfield have covered over with, agreeably, a nice, neat and tidy plastic plug. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is obviously plastic. I mean, at least they've bothered to cover it up. A lot of motorcycle manufacturers just leave holes like this as they are. But there is room for improvement. In fact, you know, while I was making this video, I sort of had a quick look at the Interceptor, because that's got similar sort of fittings on it, which in my opinion could do with the same treatment. These are incredibly well made. They're a precision fit, and they're held in place with a reasonably thick O-ring, which obviously also serves the purpose of keeping the weather out, which is a little bit of a worry with the plastic bungs. That's the only thing I will say against them, because they will let moisture in and then they'll hold it in there, which could lead to corrosion problems in due course. In fact, I identified that as a potential issue when I first got the bike and treated the aperture with wax oil, which caused me a little problem fitting these, which I'll take you through in a few minutes. Now, as you can see here, this O-ring creates an interference fit, and when I first put these on, they went on really easily. And I realised with a little bit of experimentation that you can actually remove them quite easily as well. In fact, I was on the verge of scrapping this video because I didn't really think that I could recommend these finishes. Because it was fairly early in the morning, the sun had just come out, obviously the temperatures were rising and it was causing a build-up of air pressure inside the aperture, which was gradually pushing these finishes off. And then I remembered that last year I'd treated this aperture with wax oil to prevent corrosion. Now, wax and oil are obviously lubricants. Put them together with an O-ring and you're just lubricating the O-ring, so it will come off fairly easily and it won't grip properly. So I got the panel wipe out, soaked a cleanish workshop wipe with it, carefully cleaned up the O-ring and the sort of male part that goes into the socket on the bike, and using the same panel wipe also thoroughly cleaned up the aperture on the frame that the finisher goes into. Now, this U-Pol panel wipe is fantastic stuff. It's quite safe to use on any surface, but it'll remove all traces of silicone, wax, grease, polish, you know, whatever might have got on there. It removes it completely, ready for painting, so you can be sure it's going to get it all off. Having done that, I found that the finisher was actually quite difficult to push on, which is exactly what you want. Because if it's difficult to push on, it's going to be difficult to get off, and indeed I did sort of test it and found it's very difficult to pull it out, although not impossible. Now, I'd like to make this clear, this is not an issue with these finishers. This is an issue probably unique to me, because I always feel that the best way to deal with rust is not to allow it to form in the first place. So I am a little bit OCD about protecting certain areas with wax oil or whatever other rust inhibitors I decide to use on it. Having said that, any sort of fastidious motorcyclist that likes to look after his bike, if you do use maintenance sprays or whatever to protect your frame, and you should really, there is the possibility that some of that will have seeped into this aperture. So if you encounter this problem or you've got any doubts whatsoever, you should have some panel wipe in your toolkit. Give it a good clean out just to make sure. And I assure you that these finishers ain't going anywhere. They're really well attached. Now, Hitchcock's motorcycle recommend that you can, of course, polish these up if you want to. It's aluminium, it's fairly soft, it wouldn't take an awful lot of doing, but I did moot to them that a pair of brass ones might look quite nice. If you agree with me and you'd like to see some brass ones as well, let Hitchcock's know in the comments section down below. For the most part, these are just a cosmetic improvement, although, as I said earlier, I do think they do bring other benefits with weatherproofing. A really nice, cheap, easy little aesthetic improvement that you can make to your bike for very little money. I'll leave a link in the video description down below, as well as a link to the panel wipe for those of you who haven't got any yet. 1001 uses on a motorcycle, and a little goes a long way. Right, so look out for my upload next week, weather permitting, for the pannier rail fitting. Can't wait to get those on. Once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos, and in doing so helping to support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you would leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber, and if you do subscribe, make sure that you hit the notification bell and ensure that your notifications are enabled so that there's a possibility that YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. Have a great weekend, and if you're riding, please ride safely, and I'll see you soon.